Well, good evening and welcome to Renew US here on PJNET Live on Tuesday night. It is Renew US. It is a time that we dedicate to praise and worship and glorifying God. Before we get started, thank you to all of those in the chat asking about Sunbelt Girl. Yes, she is not here. She called me night before last. She was leaving to meet with another family member in Maryland to travel to New Jersey, New Hampshire. I'm not sure where, but her brother is very, very ill and in the hospital. And the news is, well, he's just my take is he's not expected to make it. Now, of course, you know we're concerned for Sunbelt Girl and a family member. But let me just share with you, her concern was obviously for his health, his well-being, and his comfort and his care. But her concern was also for his soul. She's not only there as a member of the family, she's there as a missionary, as a disciple of Jesus Christ. And she is going to make it a point to be sure that I think it's her brother, don't quote me on that, knows the Lord. And but on a better note, we have Dell Duduit with us in the green room. In fact, let me kind of set the mood a little bit better in the background. And what we can do, Dell blogs every Tuesday. He also writes for a local column on Thursdays. But his blog today, as always, kind of hit it out of the park, if you know what I mean. And I always enjoy that. So let me kind of prep before we bring him out of the green room. Let me bring this down to earth here. And folks, I need the genie to please lower the monitor screens. Thank you. All right. And we've got Dell with us now. And at that point, okay. And Dell is standing by. Let's bring him on the air right now. And Dell, we don't mind waiting on you. It sounds like you were on an important mission, and it's you're dressed in some different attire. You certainly didn't dress like that for us.
We were at a local political dinner, so our annual Lincoln Day dinner. So we were there listening to some local politicians. So it's always a fun event.
Yeah. Well, Dale, let me get right into it. I found your blog, they're always interesting, but the thing I think that makes them interesting, it seems like it's like a knife that cuts into my very soul, because as a coach, one of the things I not only I get to watch and observe other coaches, and let me give you an example, and without mentioning any names. I have seen coaches that have taken their team to startling success. But you know, to be in the top 10 or the top 1, to make it to be a champion, there are such demands on your time as a coach. You've got to watch game film, and you've got to prepare, and there are a million details. At the high school level, you're more than a coach. You know, you're kind of a mentor, you're a counselor, you're a teacher. You're also the manager of the entire program. The football game is a production, and if you don't think that there's a lot of details, wait until one of those details get missed. I'll accelerate. My point being, they were successful. They went on to be the state champion, but in the process, the coach lost contact with his family, lost contact with his faith. And to that I would say, that is not success. And you say?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's a success in the eyes of the world, maybe, but to the family and the folks that's been let down, it's not a success. It's almost a resentment that develops when that happens. And you know, I've been a coach too as well, not at that level, but yeah, at the son level, at the little league, junior high, EWE football level. So for a long time, and some travel ball. So. Yeah, I can see where I know some coaches who have sacrificed too much to get their team to the top.
Yeah, I saw a documentary on the Navy SEALs, and one of the comments was about marriage. And the Navy SEAL said marriage is 100% commitment. Being a Navy SEAL is 100% commitment. Do the math. Coaching isn't much different, is it?
No, if you want to be successful, it is it's more than a job. It's more than a passion. It is a life. And for a lot of these guys, who are at the top, I mean, if they don't have the support of their families sacrifice just as much, their spouses, their kids, because the coach isn't home much. So there's great sacrifice there.
So how do you do that balance? Let me give you an example. Coach Bowden at FSU maintained a balance between faith and success and significance. Back in the days when there were phone books, Coach Bowden's phone number and his street address were in the phone book. Sometimes coaches, as they move up to that level of success, they disconnect themselves from the very foundations that brought them that success.
Oh yeah, and I deal a lot in talking to athletes and coaches, and yeah, some of these guys, they're difficult to get to because they have, I guess, they're protected. They have a hedge around them, some sort, and you got to get in a circle to get to them, and it's hard, and it's a shame too that the society's made it to where the coaches are even in high demand, and they're popular, I guess you might say, and they have to be isolated a lot. So, and that's got to be a lonely feeling too, as my post explained, that Coach Barnes, he felt alone a lot, even though he was still a very successful coach. I mean, he's in the Sweet 16 this weekend, so wish him all the luck there.
So, without causing people to not read your blog, summarize the story. I don't want to do a spoiler, but the story was about a coach who, well, you tell it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't mind talking about it. Coach Rick Barnes, who is now the coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, a very successful coach, has a great resume as far as a college basketball coach. He coached at Texas for a long time, and he said that he had it all. He's done it all. He's been at the top of the top, and lows of the lows, and always grew up in church, and has always been taught right from wrong, is what he told me. And he talked to me at this breakfast out in San Antonio, and he said that it got to the place where it was just his whole life was basketball. His whole life, where he was committed to basketball, and he drifted away from his faith. And it took yeah.
It's very understandable.
Oh yeah, I can see that, because at that level, I mean, you got the players need you. Your department needs you. The fans need you. The media needs you. Everybody needs you.
And once you become part of a winning tradition, the expectations keep going up. It's not good enough to do as good as you did last year. It's never, however good you did last year is never going to serve as a pass to do not that well this year. Right. Just recruiting. I won't go into the painstaking details, but you have no idea, people out there. I don't know of any profession that demands so much of you, short of being a Navy SEAL or something along those lines. So your blog goes into he was actually intervened by who?
His kids.
His kids. Imagine that. That tells you something about the kids. That must have been hard on them.
Yeah, he said it was. He said they were really upset with him, and they weren't yelling at him. So they just had a heart-to-heart talk with him, and said, we don't like the way you're treating our mom. We don't like the way you treat us anymore, and you changed. And so, he told me that, and he said it was hard. He said he was upset, but then he knew they were telling the truth. So he had to make some changes.
It must have been a real come to Jesus moment, and it must be something that must have rocked his very being to have your children call you into account. But I applaud those children for their courage and their candid forthrightness, because I think we all need to hold each other into account, and without that, we are destined to stray.
Yeah, his story, I mean, was phenomenal. He was very open with me, and he spoke to an audience of about 1,000 people right after he spoke to me, and told basically the exact same story that he told me, just one-on-one, and the whole room was quiet. I mean, you had a lot of athletes, because this is at the Final Four. You had a lot of basketball players, the families there, and he was receiving this prestigious award for honor and integrity in his faith. So it was presented by Athletes in Action. So it was an awesome breakfast. I mean, very moving. I was sitting at a table with some people I didn't know, a dad and their kids, and they were just quiet. You know, if you know the story. So it was really moving, emotional.
You know, most of the people that see this and hear this are probably not coaches. So let me kind of bring it home. As a parent, if whatever you're doing prioritizes your time, if you're more committed to those other things than you are your family and your faith, I would say that you have your priorities wrong. And so it happens in the workplace. You have people who are so busy traveling and making a living, quote, for their family, they never get to see their family. They become estranged to their family, and they have in effect disconnected in the name of feeding their family. So you can lose your son or daughter. Now let me ask you something. If you have a son or daughter and they drift from the faith as a parent, does that reflect poorly on you as a parent?
I don't think so. I think if you taught them the right way,
right,
and then they can make their own decision. But you have to obviously monitor who's influencing them. I mean, I raised two boys, and so I coached two boys as well. So I had to juggle those two. But I don't think it's reflection if you've raised them right and you've taught them right, and then they end up making a decision that's not the way you want. You just have to keep at it. You can't give up. You can't get mad. You just got to keep loving them and presenting them the right way. And eventually, I think they'll see it. And
you mentioned in your blog how proud you are of your two sons. They are both now ministers. And but, you know, there's no guarantee that if you teach them and bring them up in the admonition of the Lord, that is not a guarantee. And my thoughts, I won't say drifted, but I would say were pulled to Solomon, well known as the wisest of men. Was he? His two sons were fools. After he died, within 72 hours, the entire kingdom collapsed on their watch. So, folks, you know, the best of us can fall short in parenting. So I think, as I read your blog, I mean, the story is about a sports figure. The story is about a coach, but the story is really about parenting and our responsibilities in parenting and the limitations of what we can do. And I think you've said it well. You know, we teach them. And you know, it's not just us as parents. You know, we need to bind together. Well, I don't know in the traditions of your worship if you do anything like this or not. But once a year in our church, we have a baby dedication. And it's an opportunity for the parents they go up front, and of course, you know, and we present them with Bibles and all kinds of stuff. But our pastor does a really good job because, you know, one of the things he wants to do is admonish the parents to raise them in the fear of the Lord and in the traditions of our faith and the beliefs therein. But then he turns to the congregation and says, "But each one of us, as a body of believers, has a responsibility to partner with our parents, other parents, in doing that, because none of us can, I mean, we need to stick together and act like, guess what, a team."
Yeah, we do the same thing, and we do it not annually. We do it probably 2 or 3 times a year. We do the baby dedications where we do the same thing. The pastors admonishing, or not admonishing, encouraging the congregation as well, because we do have a responsibility. Yeah, and you're right. It is a team, just like Rick Barnes coaches a team, and you know, leads them to victories. And so, our church is a team, so we all have to help each other. And if we see something going wrong, we have to call them out on it as well. So, well,
and yeah, there needs to be a single standard. I mean, as a coach, you don't put up with lack of effort. You don't put up with excuses. Well, you know, as a parent, you're really coaching a different team called your family. And, you know, our Lord calls us as fathers to be the spiritual head of the household. And so often that head of the household is absent. What was it? I saw one time somebody tweeted, or it was just something on social media that kind of got my attention. You know, fathers are so busy watching, or not busy, I shouldn't say, but they're riveted to a football game on television. Meanwhile, their children are out in the yard playing. Why don't they go out and play with their kids?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. I would much rather, spend time with my kids, even though I coached and played and things like that. I would much rather, now I have a grandson on the way and I have a granddaughter. I would much rather if she come up to me and said, "Let's go fishing," and the TV goes off, so.
That's like that night she came in. What's her name? She's a beautiful little girl.
Sophie.
Sophie, yeah. You were trying to kind of manage, because she was kind of trying to get to bed, wanting to come in, and I said, Dale, what we're doing here, bring her in. I mean, don't let this interfere. Well, tell me about some of, let's catch up on your book, Dugout Devotions, I think is now, out for its 4th week, and I saw some stuff on Facebook where you were out hustling the book a little bit. How's it going?
It's going really well. Our publishers, New Hope Publishers, do a phenomenal job getting exposure. We have some book signings. We have some coming up soon. We have one in Pittsburgh in first week of May. Clint Hurdle of the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to join me May 4th in Pittsburgh on a game day, which we're excited about that, to sit and sign books with me. We're going to have one in New York City at the end of May at a book show, and then we're going to be also debuting First Down Devotions as well at that show. And then we'll be going to Nashville, outside of Nashville, to the Christian Product Expo event, where we'll be also signing there. So it's going phenomenal. It's blowing me away how well it's doing. And so I'm very excited and very thrilled.
Well, folks, we're happy. We're happy for you, Dale. Now, you've got, and there's another book I can't wait, because it's football. First Down. Yeah, First Down. Devotions.
That'll be out August 5th, but we'll be pushing it here pretty soon. And I'm going to start my trek. Opening days this week is Thursday, so I'll be heading down to Cincinnati quite a bit throughout the rest of the season, working on volumes 2 for Dugout Devotions, volume 2. Wow. And we'll be meeting with a lot of professional players again, getting their stories. Just have a good time.
I don't know where you find the time. I think your clock has more than 24 hours. I mean, you've got your day job, you've got your family, you've got your children, you've got books coming out. You write not only a weekly blog, you usually write on Thursdays for a local paper, I believe. Wow. I mean, in writing, you've got to have some time. Where do you get the inspiration for your writings?
It just hit me. Like the one that's coming out Thursday, I got up this morning I woke up around 1:30 and had a thought. And so I went down and wrote it. It was up about 3 o'clock this morning getting it done. So, and then I also write for 2 or 3 other magazines, local magazines. So it's just, it's nonstop. Well, I'd rather have that than be bored, I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Well, I've learned a couple things. One is when you get those inspirations, you must act upon them immediately. Okay, if you think I'm going to get some rest and wake up in the morning and get on that, doesn't work.
I've got to the point where I take a little notepad with me to church, because sometimes I'll think of something, I'll write it down, or I'll text it to myself. I was going to
say, tweet it.
Yeah. So I was up this morning writing that, and it'll be interesting to see the reaction I get from that.
Let me get on my soapbox. I get a little peeved when I go to a church service. While you're sitting there before the service begins, they've got the little PowerPoint or whatever playing up on the screen. It says, please silence and turn off your electronic devices. Dell, I assure you, if I were the pastor before I started preaching, I would say, everybody turn on your electronic devices. And if something I say speaks to your heart, tweet it, put it on Facebook, do something.
I may do that.
Yeah. Just tweet it. The other thing that I've shared with others is when you start committing yourself to a blog, a vlog, or any sort of putting out some material in whatever venue that may be, one of the benefits has been for me, Dale, is you can't just wait until it's time to do it and do it. You've got to have that, what I would call your spiritual radar up all the time, looking for and capturing those inspirations. And I think it has helped me tremendously in my Christian walk. to do this type of thing. So because you're kind of held accountable, it's such, you got a show tonight, or you got a blog to write on a schedule, whatever it may be, and it forces you to, well, as Zig Ziglar says, you act on the deadline because the deadline acts on you, and you're under a lot of deadlines.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this as much as I do. You know what you do is a tremendous amount of time. So I think God's going to honor all the time that we put in. So sacrifices. It's not a sacrifice at all. It's fun. I enjoy it. But yeah, you're right. A blog will hit me. It might hit me tonight for next Thursday, or it might come Saturday or Sunday. I used to worry about it. I don't worry about it anymore because it'll always come, and I don't feel in the least bit under pressure on it. I've done them as late as the day of before. I don't like to do that. I like to try to get them done on Saturday or Sunday.
Do you ever have those things where you write your blog or do whatever, produce whatever it was you're producing? One of the things that I do is I kind of get it all in my head, and I make a very just a sketch, just on a Post-it note. Okay, I'm not trying to script what I'm going to do. I just try to get my thoughts together. Then I will go take a shower and just let my mind kind of let it marinate a little bit, because a lot of times I get an idea in that little brief 20 or 30 minutes. But what ticks me off is as soon as you hit publish, within 5 minutes you'll think, oh man, I should have said. You ever do that?
Oh yeah, but fortunately with WordPress, with my system, if I want to change it, I can go in and change it and then publish it again and just
update it,
edit it, update it, and it's fine. But typically, and I've learned this through some of the writing conferences, they said once you're done, you're done. Just be done with it. If you think of something, don't you just be done with it.
Yeah.
So, and I've learned to let go of a lot of things I've written, and I've wanted to change it, because if you keep changing it, you're going to keep changing it. So I write it, I let it go.
Yeah, and it won't be your last blog if it's that good. Just incorporate it into your next one. And I was speaking with another professional on the topic, and he reminded me, oh, that thing you said we forgot to say. Nobody out there knows you forgot that. So, don't let it get to you.
How'd your event go last week?
I tell you what, it was the perfect, what I call scrimmage, Dale. And that's, I wanted it to be that way. This stuff was all new, and it was kind of a low stakes game. So it was very much like a scrimmage. It was real enough. The equipment performed well, and thank God, because we've invested in it, and the engineering was good. Everything worked together. But there are so many places we need to make improvements, and the primary one is it takes too much time to set up, too much man hours. I guess I should say person hours now. But anyway, we've got to find a better way to become more efficient in setting up and tearing down. For that 4-hour event, we had 22 man hours. That is not efficient. That is unsustainable. Now, the good news is everything can be fixed. Everything can be fixed. Most of the problems that we had are because this is all new stuff. I'm not familiar with it. It's very much like this studio and live broadcast system that we have now. It takes time to learn this stuff. It takes time for it to be muscle memory, second nature. You do it without thinking type thing. So some of that will take care of itself. But we made a video for Scott Dawson, and he was very, very impressed. And one of the things that that I'm trying to accomplish, part of the inspiration for all of this, is I go around to these campaign things, whether it's a debate or speaking at a Lions Club lunch or something like that, and I'm absolutely blown away with how unprofessional it is. And it seems to me it would be so easy. And I've shared this with some candidates, but they just don't want to invest in it. Is say, look, if you're going to do something at 12 o'clock noon, let's say, I need to be there at 3 o'clock. And buddy, the speakers are coming out, the amplifiers are coming out, the video screens are coming out, the projector's coming out. We're going to fill it. And here's my point: when people get that, first of all, we're going to use that time that people are getting there assembling. We're going to put that to work by putting stuff on a projector screen. We're going to be messaging those people and from the moment they get there. I said, but they need to understand that you're taking this very seriously, and there's a new sheriff in town. Well, I think we were able to make that point because Scott Dawson Evangelistic Association is not some hole-in-the-wall outfit. Okay, they're huge. And for him to approach me and say, in the words he used, it's almost like I put them in his mouth, "You take this very seriously." And I said, "I do. Do you take this seriously?" He said, "I do." And hopefully I'll get to talk with him in the days ahead. And who knows what will become of that. But yeah, it went well, Dale. But there's so much room for improvement. And there's so much more that we can do. But the challenge is not really the electrons and the technology. The challenge is the organization, the management, and the amount of time and effort that goes into it. So appreciate you checking in on that. Hey, Dale, you've had a long day. You hadn't even had time to get out of your tie yet.
That's right.
I better let you go, man. But thank you for sharing again. Look forward to next week. I'm not going to ask anymore what next week is because the answer is don't know yet.
We've got a busy few days. We're bringing in the movie Unplanned, which debuts Friday. We're showing it Thursday. And we found out we've rented out 2 theaters, and we just found out today that one of them is sold out.
Wow!
And we're getting a lot of bites on the second cinema. So we're looking for a full crowd. It's getting a lot of play. It releases Friday. A very moving, true story.
The trailer was very moving.
Yeah, we'll be down to Cincinnati this week at some baseball games.
Folks, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to deldidway.com and look at last week's blog. That would have been the 21st. And in there is a link to that movie. It is very compelling and very moving, and you will enjoy every moment of it. And that's going to, I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah, and the gentleman who owns the My Pillow, Mike Lindell, he financed a lot of this movie.
His name keeps popping up.
Oh man, his pillows are great too. By the way, in fact, we were with one of his good friends tonight at dinner. So we were talking to him for a bit. He's going to try to get him to follow me on Twitter. So I may
need to reach. Yeah, we need to corral that guy.
He's a good guy. He's from Cincinnati, so.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
What else do you say? All right, well, Dale, you've been very generous, with your time, and it's an honor to have you, and we just wish you the very, very best, and may God bless you.
Your family. Is great.
Well, thank you, sir. Week. Well, we're going to get more of them too. All right. Yep. All right, folks, that was Dale Didway. He's here every Tuesday night. Now, that's good news, and we love it. But let me tell you something. Today, I spoke with, and we did what we call a dry run with Casper Stockham from Colorado, who has run for congressional office, U.S. Congressman twice. You are going to love Casper Stockham. And he will be our regular guest on Monday night, starting this coming Monday. So we look forward to that. And of course, we figure by May 1st, we'll have the ticket, kind of, the card, I'm sorry, rounded out. We want to leave a little open space in there for people, for ad hoc type things that come up, and we don't want to commit every night to something, unless that just, let's change the mood a little bit. Let me show you the background that we're going to be using for Casper Stock. Does that kind of look like Colorado? It isn't, but there's no mountains in there. But Colorado's a beautiful state. I've visited there on numerous occasions. But Casper Stockham is right in the middle of it. And he's going to be sharing something about an idea Monday night without preempting what he's going to say. He's got a proposition that will be of interest to any pro-lifer. Okay, and it's really interesting because he is a conservative, as am I. But I won't spoil it. But he's got an idea that some conservatives may want to consider, even though it would be a, quote, government program. Wouldn't that be something? But anyway. All right, well, folks, we're going to wrap it up, and we will see you tomorrow night, but we'll continue our program tonight, Renew U.S. It's all about proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ to a dark world, and I appreciate each and every one of you helping in that mission, because that is exactly what God has called us to do. Have a good night.